today, as is tradition, we'll be doing a tier list of the Gwent community balanced changes. It's just my opinion. I can be wrong. I can be right. We'll see. We have top tier changes I really like. Hopefully that will impact the meta, like make new decks type of thing. Good changes. Pretty self-explanatory. I like these ones. Neutral changes, I don't really care one way or the other for a variety of reasons. Either I don't think it does anything, or I don't like it and I do like it, but it bounces out type of stuff. Questionable are changes that I suspect might not be good, but I'm willing to test out type of thing. Bad are changes I think are just bad. I don't like. And I hate this tier is for, well, if you've watched these before, you know what's going in there already. So let's get into it here. We're starting off with Bakala. Nilfgaard soldiers have kind of fallen off completely, so I'll put this in good because it helps them out. And I think that's nice for that deck. It also incentivizes the non-Renfrey version because the Renfrey version was generally better. But so I kind of like this, but it's a good card. War Council, I'm not so sure about. War Council's already played in a couple decks, and it's really good. And I guess it's just because it's another consistency card that is getting a buff. I'm not sure about this one, but I don't hate it. Water of Broccolon to 9 provisions. Now this makes 2 engines, which to be honest, you kind of need if you're playing an engine deck nowadays, or your engines have to be really resistant to removal. Even though I am one of the biggest Harmony fans out there, we'll say it's good. I'm kind of stuck between this neutral. To be fair, it's really not water. That's the problem. We'll get to the problem later, but this is probably good overall, like in a vacuum, this change, because it doesn't see play, even in Harmony decks. And people would rather play Simloss and backup plans. People would rather play Shiru, other things at this 10-ish slot. So I'm okay with this one. Should be fun. Swears, good change. It lost a provision. It was too expensive for what it did. And 3 Cs. It's kind of been power crap because it's only really good against Madoc and things with engine setup. So I think it's fair. Vabjorn. I mean, it's in line with all of the other consistency cards getting a provision nerf, but this one affects Highland Warlord raids, which I don't like. So I guess it's fair that it gets it. I don't like all these getting buffed in the first place, so we'll just put it neutral. War of Clans. This and Vabjorn completely undo the Highland Warlord nerfs from last patch. Last patch, which means that it's probably going to be the best deck again. So that's nice. It actually gained a provision because of these 2. That's 3 provisions saved. Took 2 on Highland Warlord, which we'll just throw in bad right now. Actually, we're probably going to hate this tier. It gets dropped down to I hate this tier because it's a reversion. So let's talk about these. Can't really talk about them independently. We get to waters as well. Like this one independently, fine. This one independently, not the biggest fan. War of Clans is actually just a good card. I think it probably is warranted at 6. I've played it outside of raids a couple times in regular warriors without the Highland Warlords. You don't buff the damage. And it's still pretty good. So I don't know if this needs to be 5. However, buffing Highland Warlord, this gives you the entire old Highland Warlord raid warrior deck, which no one liked and was the best deck of 2 patches ago. This just was the best deck. And now it has -3 provisions over what it was before. You fit in Karatrolde, fit in another buffed card, fit in whatever you want, and I don't like that. So this is going down here. Ronfit the Incessant, sure, I hope this helps incentivize pure Revenant decks rather than just having Revenant in everything as a 1 of or 2 of for 4 provisions. Saskia Commander, I'm kind of neutral on this one. She's immune. So I guess what's she die to now that she didn't before, or doesn't die to now? I guess she takes her 3 turns of fog to kill her, and if you fog her, usually might not get hit. Because before, if you played her, she'd usually pull out something that was bigger than her, and fog would kill her, or you got 50-50 on the fog. So I don't know about this one. I think she's already good enough, but yeah, I like Harmony, so we won't put it in questionable, because it is a Harmony card at the end of the day, and that deck was not very good. Actually, since we talked about water, we'll just go right ahead and grab the other one here and put that in bad. So, Dryad Fledgling at 6. So first of all, I don't like bronze engines that come down above bronze removal range outside of Mastercrafted Spear, which is a 6 version card. So I don't like them to come down above bronze removal range unless a 6 version engine like Flutter's it's an expensive engine, Flutter. what's the other ones? The Messenger from the Sea type of thing, where they're expensive, right? This is a 4 Persian engine. Why is this coming down at 6? It should be within removal range, in my opinion. And you're making 2 of these off of water, so this is now a 12 value, 2 engines spawn off of this. I think this is the issue, not necessarily making this 9. I'm just not a fan of this. So we talked about those. Let's go grab a Fawn. Sure. He's going to need more help if anyone's ever going to play him, but you know what? I'd like to see him usable. King of Beggars. I really like this one. I know that Syndicate has some issues with coin generation outside of this, but there are decks you can play without King of Beggars. And the fact that King of Beggars just dominates everything, I think, is a little bit of a problem. The other coin generation stuff, I think, should be buffed instead. And now that hopefully this will incentivize some trying out those. At least that's my hope. We have Stewardle gaining a power. I say we'll go with good. I'm not so sure. My concern with this one is he just fits now with the extra provisions you gain from Highland Warlords. You just fit this in that deck, and it's annoying, but this helps him outside of King Bran decks. So if you want to play Devotion, he'll still be reasonable without having to play King Bran, which I like. It is a Devotion card at the end of the day, so it should be generally stronger than the other cards because you have to play Devotion. So we'll say it's good. Hereshka I really like. We won't put it quite in top tier. I don't think it's that impactful, but it's really nice for Ulu the Warriors because the Warriors really lack an engine that does consistent damage. Most of their damage is on deploy, something like Brockfire Warrior, which spreads the damage out, and Alula does a bunch of extra pings. Or you have like Brockfire Hunter, which does every other turn. Hereshka is just doing hers. It's quite nice, and I think she's fine at 5 with 1 armor because her ping, like a random ping, is not as good an engine as most of the bronze engines that just do a damage a turn. So it's not as great of an engine, but it's good in combination with Ulula. And obviously you have her Order, which does 3 random damage as well. So I think this will be interesting, and we'll experiment with that. Evelyn Gallo, I really like this one too. She went to 6. Yeah, I just really like this as an alternate coin generation thing, for something like King of Beggars. And hopefully we see more of the coin generation or things like this getting buffed. Nausicaa's going straight there. Crosswoman gained a power. I don't know about this one, guys. Crosswoman now comes down at 6. Well, it comes down at 4. Does 2 damage. And if you use an Imperial Formation charge on it, it's outside of like 6 damage removal range, which I don't really like. Actually, I played this card in Soldiers relatively recently, and it's still pretty good. So I don't know about this one. This one though I do really like, the Shield Maiden. Hopefully we can get some Ceres Lippy back. As it's been a long time since that deck was playable. Hopefully maybe we can see it in like some Self Wound type of thing. I really want to see Ceres and Ceres Fearless and all those getting played, because at the moment there are a lot of options for Self Wound, but none of them are Ceres. Whereas in Shield Maiden, where it seems like they should be. I really wish Ceres Fearless got buffed too. There's our Banshee. We'll put this one at top tier because it goes with Haunt, which is on here as well. Let's grab those two. These kind of go together. So Desert Banshee is just better as an engine that can consume, and there's not really many engines in Death Wish outside of like value stuff like just eating Succubus. So I like this, and I like Haunt getting a buff. I like seeing them more competitive with Dagon and stuff for Death Wish decks. Maybe we'll see some options there. But Renfrey in neutral, she lost the power. It's whatever. It doesn't really bother her that much. Generally, you slam your leader, then play her on the same turn, so her tempo is generally just whatever your leader's tempo is. Although, to be fair, you don't always do that. So, something like Renfrey Vampires, for example, doesn't do that. They just play the leader 3 times, then eventually play the Renfrey. I think the provision was much better of a nerf than this. This kind of doesn't do that much, in my opinion. Demvent's a really good change. We'll put it up here. Again, this Cal lost a power, which makes him a little easier to remove at 7 instead of 8. It makes it so that you can set up some kind of engine. Maybe like, we'll say you're playing a mirror match, you can play like a Caro Ballista. Then fire the Caro Ballista, hit with the Boiling Oil, something like that. Or if you want to commit a couple turns, a little bit of damage over those turns, so you got to get rid of them, you can kill them easier. I think that's pretty good. And he plays for insane tempo anyway, because he always just plays a card the turn you play him, because you inspired Zeal him. And then sometimes you just play like a Temple or something. I think the tempo he provides is insane, especially you compare him to Saskia Commander. So they both play extra cards for you, essentially. The difference here is that he has more tempo when he comes down if you use the leader on him. Saskia doesn't need a leader, but she does need the deck setup. He plays for more tempo because you play a card with him. She pulls one onto your deck. So usually you play like a Rafard's Vengeance or something if you want to. So I think he should be a little easier to remove. That's just my opinion. Compass is probably fine. I don't hate Compass. I don't know. I just feel like we'll throw the pirate nerfs all together here in a second. So we'll put this one here. Where's the other pirate nerfs? You, and we'll get the onset leader. We'll do leaders at the end. So the pirate nerfs, they got a provision to this. Is this Smuggler? I think this is Smuggler. Or is it Corsair? Oh, this one I think is Corsair or Pirate. I think this is Smuggler. Get their names mixed up. But this one up here, I think it's a good change. 10 for 5 with 2 damage. It was extremely powerful. I think it was too powerful. The thing that really puts it over the edge for me is that it has the 2 damage. And you're playing Onslaught, right? So that just sets you up with 5 damage removal with the leader charge. But realistically, it sets you up with 6 removal because you're putting it next to a ship. Sure, it takes setup and blah, blah, blah. But I think it was too strong, just unconditionally of being... Well, it's not unconditional. It has a... It's like Nausicaa Sergeant. It technically has a condition. But it's a very easy to beat condition. So playing as a 10 for 5 I think was too good. I think now it's more of a consideration if you play it or not. We lost the power on this guy down here. Unlike... I don't like this one. It had the same condition, which was a pretty easy condition. However, unlike the Smuggler, this doesn't do any extra things with your leader power. Like, this sets up the leader with more armor, which is why I think it's extra good. This one at 9 for 5, I just thought was like a really good point slam card. It was whatever. Generally, like, those aren't as good as things that do extra things like damage. But I guess we wanted to nerf this one. I thought the deck didn't need this nerf. Then you got the Compass one in the middle, which, whatever. I don't know, but Compass does generally make cards that are worth more than its provisions. And as thinning has gotten cheaper, it's been easier to make Compass decks, so it's not as much of a restriction anymore. So I can see the argument. I don't necessarily care one way or the other. Compass is a very, very good card, and it gives you flexibility in addition to making things more expensive than it. So it's whatever. But overall, I think that's a little excessive, especially this one. So I think that deck got possibly a little bit over nerfed. Anyway, now we have Sove. Sure. Sove lost the power. It's still a giant immune guy. In light of the Highland Warlord changes, this is probably a good thing, but I was okay with Sove at the moment. They have Leticia. She lost a power. Okay, let's put this here. Leticia has a design problem that the Alumni Mages have, is that whenever the deck works, it completely dominates the game. Whenever it doesn't work, it just doesn't do anything and you lose. And I think that's more of a design problem with the deck than anything can actually be balanced. Anytime you make Leticia too hard to kill, the deck becomes incredibly annoying. However, everyone just put Shield Wall on her anyway, so let's just make her an 8 instead of a 7 instead of an 8 after Shield Wall comes off. I guess it's a little easier to remove. I don't really care one way or the other. With Shady Vendor, I don't like this. Shady Vendor losing a power. It makes 1 coin on deploy, so 4 for 4 generally. If we count the coin as 1 for 1, 4-ish or 5-ish for 5 provisions. And then mix a 4 provision or 5 provision card by paying that number of coins. So essentially its value is the difference between the coins you spend and the value of the cards you make. So say you spend 5 coins and make a Payday. You're spending 1 for 1 there, which isn't great. I don't think this card needed a nerf, to be honest. I think this is a bad idea. I think Syndicate... this isn't a card that was in every Syndicate deck. It was only in, like, Crimes and Akaranchi and such. So I don't really think this needed the nerf. But, yeah, I just don't like it. We have Living Armor. We'll briefly mention this one here. It lost a power. This was done entirely, I believe, by the Chinese community, if I recall. It was done entirely because they didn't think any nerfs were warranted, and there's blocks a nerf slot from everyone else filling out, which I think is incredibly short-sighted and dumb. So that's going here. That's also a completely pointless nerf, because it just sets its armor equal to its power. Now you can Spores it for 1, okay, but I just think the idea of using your nerf slots to block other people's opinions is stupid. Then we have, like, they don't think there's anything needed, so instead of leaving it blank, they nerf this, which I think is ridiculous. Next up, we have Sorceress. I don't know about this one. Like, I guess this is the Knight nerf. I don't know if Knights needed nerfs. It also was playing Shield Wall and Golden Necker decks, but those weren't really top tier, I don't think. They were reasonable, but I don't think they were top tier. So I don't know about this one. I think I'd rather see Immortals gain a provision than this, if you want to nerf that package, but sure. Then we have... put this in, which one of these? We'll put it down here just because it's a reversion. So Whisperer at 4 was quite good, but 4 removal is still not hard to find. It did get a ton of value, but you can't have a deck of all specials, so I guess this is an annoying card to deal with. It's just that in my games, I didn't see it do anything, really. Even when I didn't have a way to kill it, it didn't get enough points for them to win all the time. So, I don't know. It would be a neutral, except it's a reversion from the last patch's one. I generally don't like those unless there's a really big reason, like the 9 version Compass. That was not a bad idea to revert that. So I think we'll just put that one there. Then we have Servant. So what does this do? Servant lost to power. I guess this is okay. I guess Status is an annoying deck. Everyone hates, well, pretty much everyone hates Status. And this just copies statuses. I guess the thing with this is, say it copies a lock, it's playing above the things you'd expect from an Aristocrat. What's the guy named? The Vampire Hunter guy. It plays above the curve for other cards when it moves multiple statuses, right? So I guess that's what we're going with here. Yeah, if you had it before as a 4 and it moved a lock, it'd be the same as Alba Armored Cavalry. If you moved a lock and something else, it'd be more. So I can see we're going for this one. It also moves poisons. Poison cards generally don't have as many points as this does on deploy. So I can see it. I don't really care one way or the other, though. Riffion, we'll just put this in here as well. This is for the deck. Well, actually, a couple more cards for this deck. This is because of the Combat Engineer and the Teleportation deck. I should put those up here as well. The Combat Engineer, I think, is the most reasonable of these. And yeah, I think this is the most reasonable one. And this is probably a good idea. The deck was really annoying to go against. They build up all the charges, and then they Rot Tosser you, they Mangonel you, all that good stuff. So I think this is warranted. Rifion's down here because I don't really care. I don't really like all the defenders getting nerfed. I know people don't like defenders, but I mean, if they're all getting nerfed, they're all getting nerfed, and nothing we can really say about it. And then we have Teleportation. I think we'll actually put Teleportation in. I think we'll actually move this one up to good. Actually, this is a double nerf to this deck, right? It's 5 provisions together to that deck. Well, that's a big hit. He took all the provisions from this and gave it to Highland Warlords raids. However, I think Teleportation at 5, I don't think that does hurt Mill, so that's one thing. Right, you can't teleport your Kingslayers as easily anymore. So, I don't know. I think this is the good one. I don't know how much more was needed than this. I think this teleport, I think, might have been overkill. Yeah, we'll leave it there. Then we have Slave Driver. This is a reversion of a reversion of a reversion, blah, 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 blah. However, this is where it should be. It should be a 6th version card, in my opinion. So it's going up here. Then we have Brawler. We're going to put Brawler. Actually, you know, I'll move this down here. I think we'll put this one down here. I've been thinking about it. It's stuck between these 3 tiers for it. I think I do like it here better. I'm not sure this is a great idea, but it doesn't really... It might make the card dead completely, which I don't like. But anyway, we have... we'll say this one. We'll say Brawler. So Brawler lost a power... Or gained a provision, which means you can't make it off of Eventide anymore. I feel like people complaining about this and this making it... Vendor making this, or was the problem of this card, not that one. Brawler should be a 5 for 5, I believe is what we're going for here. In the light of it going to a 5 for 5, we'll say it's good. If it gets this undone again, then it's bad. But I think this probably should be a 5 for 5 card, because it is really annoying to make it off of Eventide Plunder. And it feels like a card that once you kill it, it shouldn't just get spawned multiple copies back in. Then we have the leaders. Well, let's just do this. I generally don't like the leader nerfs. There's only a couple leaders I would consider nerfs not to, or buffs or nerfs not to be bad on. Like Uprising, for example, is the only one I think that's really awful. But I think that's more of an issue with the deck, that it can use Uprising rather than Uprising itself, even in that case. So I don't like these. Tactical Decision doesn't see a lot of play, but I think that's more of the decks using it. It's just like a mill leader, and Hyperthin isn't good. I feel like if we just buff the cards in the deck that like this leader, it would be better than just buffing the leader. Same thing with Invigorate. A hand buff is fine. Like, it's an okay deck, and it's not the most fun thing to play against, so I guess we can buff it if you want to, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. And then Onslaught, I think this is another nerf. So that's what, 6 nerfs now? Well, it's 2 provisions here, 2 power here. So it's 4 provisions to Pirates, and we gave 5 provisions to Highland Warlords raids. I don't know about this one. I think, to be fair though, we'll put this in neutral. This is the most reasonable. This was 16 provisions. There wasn't really a reason this should be like the highest provision Skellige leader, in my opinion, because it is actually just 6 targeted damage, which is really good for a leader. So yeah, we'll go with this. that's the tier list, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know what you think. Again, this is just my first impressions. Obviously, they can be wrong. They can be right. We can always make fun of myself later for having said something stupid. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll see you next time. That'll be it for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next time. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more. And you can check out some more videos over here. And thanks for watching.